The Millbrae BART station at 9 a.m. is noticeably giddier, more full of youthful energy than the commuter hour is used to seeing. I am sitting with half a dozen middle and high schoolers from our temple who have opted for a partial absence from school to take a stand for the repair of our climate. Why this strike? Why this issue? I ask a high school junior. Rabbi Laura, think about it, she says. Nothing else matters if there isn't a healthy planet to live on. This is what keeps my friends and I up at night. This is real for us. Soon we are engulfed in a sea of kids, teens, and parents marching down Market Street. I take in the signs they carry passionately, each one a rebuke to those in power who have failed them. Respect your Mother Earth. There is no planet B. The oceans are rising, so are we. I need you to act as if our house is on fire, because it is. This September, across over 180 countries, the impassioned voices of 4 million teenage climate activists reverberated from city streets, sweeping New York, Berlin, Kabul, Afghanistan, Guadalajara, and of course, our very own San Francisco Bay Area. In unprecedented force, a rising generation calls for the repair, restoration, and protection of our planet with the urgency of a shofar blast. Hayom Harat Olam, they declare, bringing our liturgy to life. Today, the world can be born anew, but only if you will fight for her. We stand at the edge of a new year, meant to wake us up to our collective belonging and responsibility on this sacred earth. And it is our youngest activists whose lungs are bursting. Join us, they say. Help us not to feel alone in this moment when everything is at stake. Forests are burning, species are dying. We do not want your guilt. We want your help. Join us so that we have a future world to celebrate. Today, on Rosh Hashanah, as we recall creation itself, God demands we remember what we were created to do, to participate in the multi-generational project of repairing and replanting our world, not only for tomorrow, but for a time beyond our lifetimes. Hayom Harat Olam, we are called to take action by those who will live to see a world radically different from the one we know. We are called to heed their warning that our decisions matter to their future. Today we can and must answer them. The challenge for many of us is how. Especially for those belonging to the generations between our youngest and oldest activists in this room, connecting to the urgency of today's climate crisis can present a real cognitive hurdle to overcome. Many of our elders get it. They've witnessed the results, good and bad, of enormous human-caused changes to the natural world. They've seen rural areas become busy suburbs and ecosystems morph over decades until the land is unrecognizable. They have also seen people power and communal action defy pessimistic odds. My mother, for example, grew up in a Los Angeles choked with smog. Today, after decades of regulation by the Clean Air Act, children don't miss recess due to smog alerts. And our youth certainly get it. In fact, some of our teens at PTBE tell me they cannot sleep at night. They feel too worried about making a real environmental impact. There is even a new term coined for it, eco-anxiety, an existential stressor that has many students more upset than college admissions or performance anxiety. Yet those of us in the middle, with the purchasing power, access, resources, and votes, were hesitant to be moved. The call to chart a course of repair and sustainability for life on Earth is so natural, it should be obvious to respond. All of us are implicated, and all of us are affected by increasing signs of the world's distress, her depletion. And yet I imagine I'm not alone in struggling to respond effectively, because to answer the world's call implies a disruption of habits, of time and consumption that are all we've ever known. To face her crying is to face truths we are wired to avoid. The inevitability of our own mortality, the impossibility of change without radical interdependence, the counterintuitive challenge of investing time, energy, and resources where we may or may not see measurable results in our lifetime. Today's climate crisis and the threat of environmental collapse force us to project beyond tomorrow, beyond the losses and gains of a year, and to rewire the way we define success and upward mobility. It is built into the social and economic systems we participate in that it's rational to care less about the future than we do about the present and our immediate material gain or satisfaction. This is true even where our own welfare is at stake, let alone that of our descendants. It feels appropriate, holy, in fact, to challenge this assumption in our own Jewish community on this Rosh Hashanah morning. Whatever the dominant societal narrative, Judaism has always been an intergenerational project rooted in justice. We are each a link in a chain that stretches from Sinai to the end of time. From this vantage, it becomes natural to act from the question, what do we owe our children and grandchildren? How will we leave new generations a better world than the one our ancestors left for us? We begin by facing the difficult, undeniable truth of our present reality and the need to do teshuvah for our planet's sake. Many of you in this room are already steeped in the latest climate crisis statistics, and I'll only offer a glimpse of what we are seeing today and what we are projected to see just 10 or 20 years from now if we do not correct the business as usual trajectory we're on when it comes to the way we treat our environment. The signs read like a biblical curse or a prophetic warning. The great majority of climate scientists anticipate the next few decades ravaged by frequent and severe droughts and floods. Food and water supplies will be stressed, particularly in areas where poverty is already pervasive and deadly. To take a timely, painful example, the plight of migrants from Central America at the U.S. border will only worsen. The spring rains that provide Central American subsistence farmers a livelihood grow increasingly irregular and force more families daily to make the excruciating choice for their children's sake to leave the land they love because it can no longer produce what they need to survive. Climate refugees will soon become an entire new category of displaced persons needing homes. If the picture I had to paint for you ended there, I might be the first to throw up my hands and go back to bed. But I am not here to preach despair, and neither are the youth leading the charge for environmental justice. There is, emerging as we speak, a path forward to repair our climate and global ecosystem that is hopeful. This crisis is reversible. What it will take is 100% participation in intergenerational action with a fierce commitment to an Earth-focused future. And I know a people up to this challenge. From our ancient origins, we as Jews are commanded and committed to care for this earth. The stories we celebrate in Torah are inextricably linked with the natural world, especially its seasonal and lunar cycles. The earth's beauty and power are celebrated in our Psalms, where mountains rejoice and trees clap their hands. Our responsibility towards all species is spelled out in Jewish law, from the Torah through the Talmud, and has modern applications in all streams of contemporary Judaism. In other words, It is our birthright to feel deeply interconnected with the Earth's welfare. We are also no stranger to large-scale challenges where survival is at stake, from crossing a treacherous sea to liberation, to navigating years of displacement in the wilderness. In more recent history, the establishment of the modern state of Israel in one of the most arid, water-scarce deserts in the world has sparked massive Jewish environmental innovation. Organizations like Hazon and the Jewish National Fund take the biblical commandment to steward the land to impressive heights. They've planted 260 million trees over modern Israel's young lifetime, saved thousands of gallons of precious water with recycling technology, and pioneered solar power now used in over 90% of Israeli homes. We are a people who defy odds and rise to the occasion to be partners in creation, partners in resilience with our earth. God reminds us in the final chapters of Torah that we read in this season of our own power to effect change, especially when it comes to the land. It is not that you should say, "Who among us can go up to the heavens, and neither is it beyond the sea?" No, God says, the thing is very close to you, in your mouth, in your heart to do. The thing, the know-how we need to take righteous action is very close to us indeed. In other words, begin at home. Beyond the advocacy efforts we can all join at the national level to fight for systemic change, as our predecessors did, we must ask ourselves, what local action can we take today in our own backyards, in our houses of prayer, and on our school playgrounds to play our part in reversing the climate crisis? It turns out the answers abound. What I found most inspiring about the youth-led climate strikes this month, beyond the vibrant courage spilling onto the streets, was the clarity and creativity with which teen organizers called for action, giving all of us a way to play our part no matter how scarce our time or resources. For those on the peninsula, the menu of ways to make a difference at the local level is long. Have 30 seconds? You can follow a link we'll send out after the Chagim and opt to switch your household to 100% renewable energy through Peninsula Clean Energy for less than the cost of a latte per month. If all 900 of us did this, we would make the same impact as taking 2,000 cars off the road. Have a few hours and a savvy with spreadsheets and metrics? Help us chart meaningful carbon reduction goals with measurable benchmarks for our whole temple to track together over a year. Our individual choices add up to serious impact when we can tell a collective story of the change we are making. Have a green thumb or a passion for vegetables. Help us bring healthy local produce to Shabbat Oneg's, vegetarian cooking classes in our temple kitchen, and more. As a 900 family faith community whose mission involves generational sustainability and meaningful connection, we are uniquely poised to take on the challenge of climate change reversal in a way that will make waves and enrich our relationships with each other in the process. And we need not start from scratch. PTBE has a history of trailblazing green practices. 10 years ago, former Temple President Jill Goldring and Nancy Schneider birthed a green team that went above and beyond to ensure everything from the treats after services to the products we use at Ganon were environmentally friendly. They involved our entire community in waste-free practices from gatherings we host and counted the pounds of garbage we saved when the community was educated to reuse and rethink what we consume. It's time for an all-hands-in green team revival, updated to meet the rising challenges and urgency of this moment. And we're not just talking bigger recycling bins. From film series and workshops hosted in our sanctuary that help each household reduce its carbon footprint, to advocating for the implementation of solar technology in our neighborhoods, to the planting of trees to celebrate milestones and special occasions, the possibility for meaningful, sustainable progress is limitless. And most exciting, we are among few congregations in the Bay Area with the opportunity to pilot a cutting-edge curriculum for our high schoolers this year who want to take on climate justice and educate us as leaders in this movement. This curriculum is designed so that high schoolers will connect to a larger interfaith network of teens creatively greening their schools, churches, and temples. Over the spring, they will come up with innovative projects to be implemented at their respective faith houses. You may join me in realizing that we are unleashing something here that we will have to account for. When we ask our teens to think hard and make suggestions, we're going to have to listen to them and act wherever we possibly can. Our teens already have ideas. One student I rode with to the march suggested a 90 degrees plant a tree app, which would challenge us every time it hits above 90 degrees in this area to plant a tree somewhere local as a way of replenishing the oxygen we all depend on, helping the earth to cool naturally. I know there is a wealth of creativity, know-how, access, and passion among people of all ages in this sanctuary that can be channeled into forming our very own PTBE climate crisis commandments. Commitments we use to guide the way we gather and celebrate, the way we inhabit our brand new building in a year's time, and the way we lift up our youth as future climate justice leaders. We want to hear from you. On your way out today, by the table where you got your name tags, different from the cookie table, you'll find a station ready with seed paper index cards. My challenge to all of you is to take a card after services and write on it your ideas, simple and practical or sweeping and ambitious, for how we can make PTBE a beacon for climate-conscious communities on the peninsula and beyond. We are intentionally using paper that is embedded with flower seeds today. The cool thing about seed paper is that we can plant it directly in the ground and literally watch our ideas sprout and blossom as we implement the changes they inspire. Think of your ideas as potential environmental commandments we commit to as individuals and as a community. What can we do here at synagogue? What can our members do in their homes and places of work? How can we impact policies and practices with our voices and our votes? As Greta Thunberg, iconic 16-year-old climate activist, reminds us, change is a matter of each of us being willing to engage. Once we start to act, hope is everywhere, she says. So instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come. It is my goal that by this Passover, which coincides with National Earth Day, we can plant the climate crisis commandments we generate on seed paper today after they've been duly recorded, so that by the time we celebrate next Rosh Hashanah in our beautiful new building, we'll have a garden of wildflowers that remind us of our promises. My prayer is that next year, as we fill our brand new temple halls, we pause, take a breath, and gaze out at that garden we've planted, able to declare, Hayom Harat Olam. Today our world is truly born anew. Today we are partners in creation. We've taken serious steps forward as a community to heal our relationship to the earth. We've answered the call of the natural world, of our youth, and we're playing our part to ensure the earth's thriving future, linking ourselves with love to each new generation to come. L'shana tova u'metuka.